Okay, welcome back, everybody. We have another amazing episode of Real Estate Uncensored. My name is Greg McDaniel. I am one of the consistent co-hosts here with the Matt Johnson face, who is abandoning us like a child on the side of a road. But you know what? Who has stepped in is the trusty, evil, bald ninja. So, dude, Gene Volpe, dude, I want to thank you, brother, for always coming in, showing up, being around and co-hosting our Friday shows. Our Friday shows are by far my favorite because we have banter like there's nobody's business. So we're going to talk about some crazy cool stuff. You got a project that you're rolling out that's totally different, and it's going to be about lead generation, how to, to do leads. I did something last night that was really successful, but we'll get into that. But first, welcome, Mr. Gene Volpe.
Listen, thanks for having me, McDaniel, or as I like to say, McDizzle. What? You're laughing already. Why are you laughing?
McDizzle. That cracks me
I
up.
like it. I like it, McDizzle. So I'm honored to be here as I am every Friday. I love hanging out with you guys. I actually, I certainly enjoy when Matt's here, but it's fun nonetheless when it's just the two of us. So I'm looking forward to some of the. I'm looking forward to going off the rails. How about if we say that?
I think that would be a great way of saying it because, the funny thing is that when he's not around, there's no McDaniel wrangling, so we can do whatever the fuck we want.
I like it. Oh, and you just did. You said the F-bomb.
I know, and I love it. Okay, so let's get into a little bit this crazy thing that you got going on. After you kind of talk about what this crazy out of the box idea that you got going on is, then we'll break into a question that I think is really cool that you and I can riff on, and then we'll get into kind of some of the stuff that I did last night.
Do we really want to talk about some of the stuff you did last night? Oh, man. This is really going to go off the rails. Holy Toledo.
That's funny shit.
Private stuff coming in with Greg. This is going to be the Thursday night hour with Greg McDaniel. Right?
Now I'm grossed out.
You're going to hear that forever. Dude, listen, I don't, I think we probably... This could, if I open up this can of worms, we may end up going down a rabbit hole that lasts another hour and a half. So I don't even know if we want to start with that. But
well, why don't we just do this? Okay, so we'll save you. Okay, so here's something that I did last night, guys. Okay. Last night I did a seller event, a seller seminar, and it was really something that was spawned out of necessity, in my opinion, because I was working with a buyer about a month or so ago. The seller had never sold a home; they'd only purchased a home. So they didn't know the process, and they were frustrated and ticked off and the whole 9 yards. And so what I did, I'm like, oh my God, we need to do a first-time seller, seminar. Then I'm like, no, we shouldn't do first-time seller. We should do a seller seminar because you might be able to sold like months ago or years ago or decades ago, and you just don't know the process, right? And so everyone kind of thought it was a little bit wonky. But I said, I think that what I'm doing is right. I don't really going to listen to all you naysayers. Now, what we did in 3 weeks is we went and we marketed the property through 2 social media campaigns on 2 Facebook ads, an Instagram ad. An Instagram ad really shitty. I have to pick your brain about that.
Really?
A postcard campaign. Of course, we did the radio show and talking about on the radio show, and then spread the word of mouth to different events. Now, I have a new coach. His name is Bill. And I was kind of expressing to him, like, dude, I'm a little nervous about this. How's it going to work out? Are people going to even show up? And all this stuff. And he's like, whoa. You can't do that, man. You have to be thankful and grateful for whatever comes down the pipe. I'm like, dude, you're totally right. If 5 people show up, 2 people show up, and they're interested, it's a solid knockout of the park, right? So I totally changed my thought pattern and my energy about it. And I said, I'm pumped for whatever. We had 18 people show up with 3 weeks of marketing. 5 of them are legitimate hot seller leads. It was a phenomenal event last night. It was amazing. If you guys want the PowerPoint for my seller seminar that I threw, I'm happy to send it to you guys. You just have to PM me on Facebook with your email address, and I will send it out to you as soon as I get it. If it's today or if it's 10 years from now, I will still send it out. Maybe not 10 years, but within a reasonable amount of time. And kind of pick it apart, put it into practice, and make it your own. So the seller seminar, guys, it was a really good event. We had my co-hosts Tiffany and Miles. We both spoke. Tiffany talked about getting the home ready. I talked about marketing the property using high-tech, high-touch. We had my business partner Chris talk about how to price a home properly, which that was. Guys, go to my Facebook feed. This is recent, and go watch it. It's really good stuff he has. And then we had Miles talk about pulling equity and ways to get down payment for the next test. And we had my buddy Joe come in, and he talked about his program. That what he can do with his program is he can defer your capital gains on your primary residence through this program if you qualify. You have to have a gain of over $500,000, but if that's it, and you can put multiple properties in, but if you have that, you can defer your capital gains to get like 90+% of your capital gains and transfer it directly to you, and you can defer it for multiple decades at no cost to you. It's a fascinating program. I'll connect anybody that wants to know about it to him, to you guys. So that was my out-of-the-box idea, and we have a buyer seminar coming up in a month, so I'll tell you guys how that goes. So now,
well, wait. Well, let me stop you. Hold on.
Cool. Please do.
What was the total advertising spend or outlay that you spent to get 18 people through? And I didn't quite catch it. I was busy sharing this, so I didn't hear if you said how many actual real potential buyers you pulled out of it. Did you say sellers?
5.
5. So 18 bodies, 5 legitimate, which maybe converts to 3. Let's say.
Yeah,
well,
3's
how about
fantastic.
2 conservatively?
Okay, 2. That's still for 2 hours of worth of work, and we probably put maybe $500 into marketing total.
Okay.
And we have one gal that she came through, and she'll be about a $600,000 seller. And then another gal, she'll probably be $700,000 seller. And keep in mind, dude, that one of these ladies, she'll be a sell buy. The other lady's going to be a sell because she's going to move to Southern California. And so it's just a really good idea, and it's super simple to do. And I'll give you the whole layout. I mean, that's the coolest part about it. I mean,
write an ebook.
I am, dude. My dad, the Grandmaster T Diddy, me papa, he actually has a program that helps him write ebooks.
Beautiful.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to write an ebook on how to throw a seller seminar.
Love it.
Love it, Gene. You are a genius. You are a man among men, my friend.
I'm not the one that put on the event that gathered 5 leads. You did it.
Yeah, that's true. You got a good point.
Who's the genius here now?
Anyways, let's ask a question. And I think you and I can go off the rails on this a little bit. Here's the question. What would you change in your business if you could?
Oh,
I know.
I would close it down completely so I could go to the beach. Does that count?
No, it does not count, Gene.
Doesn't count.
It does not count.
Okay.
And no one wants to see you in a bikini.
Oh, man.
A mankini.
Listen, you want to laugh real quick? So the other day, this is off the, you want to talk about off the rails? It's off the rails.
Sure.
We were all sitting around the one day, and just in my living room, and my wife was sitting in the couch. I'm in my chair. My youngest is at the counter, and my biggest gets up, and she's like, "What's up, banana hammock?" Now, she's 13, right? So my wife, like, you can't see this if you're listening to it on audio, but she like peeked her head up from her phone or from her book. Like, what, did I just hear that right? And I'm saying to myself, this kid probably doesn't even know what the hell she's saying. Like, banana hammock. What does that even mean? So I kind of just let that ride. Hopefully she was just saying it because she heard it on some stupid ass show. But yeah. So what would I change about my business?
That's too funny.
I would shut everything down for a solid week and pull the team together to create a rock solid process. So for each service that I provide, now it's going to be a little different. Actually, not really. I'm not a real estate agent, so it'll be a little bit different as far as the services go. But in my head, I see. So let me give you a little bit of background. When I worked at Verizon, I was a manager over there, and one of my side projects at Verizon was there's these processes that comes through. They come through different businesses. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. ISO 9001. There's a TL 9000. So basically, what it is it's an auditing process that some group or company provides to other companies. So when you were thinking about hiring Verizon, you would come through and we would say, our sales guys would say, we're TL and ISO certified. So what's that mean? So what it means basically is we have a process in place that allows everybody that does a specific job to have all the elements of their job written in the easiest form possible And so it's a book basically with a process flow. So phone rings. Is the phone ringing? Yes. You pick up the phone. Now I'm on the phone. What do you say? If the customer says, I'm not interested, what's your next state? When you hang the phone up, what are the 3 things that you do? Do you call and escalate to an engineer? Like, there are all these things, right? And so I was in charge of creating and not creating, it was already created, maintaining and updating this process flow. So every year when they came in to audit us, we would pass and be able to maintain that certification. Are you with me so far?
Yeah, I'm following you. I totally get it.
And so what they would tell me was, I remember being trained on it. So they passed it off from the guy that did it before me to me. And I was like, tell me what the rule is. He said the rule is that when you're done with the process, the way they gauge it is they need to be able to take the person out of the seat, put a monkey in there, put the process in front of them, and the monkey will be able to handle the whole job. So that was the idea behind the process. So I know in my job, somebody signs on for social media, these 4 things happen, then this happens, they request something specific, that happens, and all of a sudden I'm off the rails because they asked for something that was out of service, I didn't handle it the right way, it got lost in transition, or translation for that matter, and now the customer's unhappy with something that they didn't even buy anyway, right? So what's the process? Is it tight? What's it look like? And now, okay, Greg, you signed on with me, you bought service A, let me show you what that looks like from soup to nuts, so that expectations are set and that I know where we're at in the process so I can kind of guide you the right way, or my text can guide you the right way, and you're not upset by anything that happens because you had that process to build. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and the question is, well, I wonder what the cost of that is, and if there could be a real estate application for that, because that would make perfect sense. We always talk about systems. Matt browbeats me on a consistent basis on, you got to be systems, and I'm like, ow. That's a middle finger for everyone listening on the podcast. But I see the complete value because there's turnover, and this would be ideal because of the fact that everyone always talks about this. Well, I'm going to start off as a solopreneur, then I'm going to get an assistant, right? And the assistant sits there and he or she watches what you're doing, and all of a sudden they're like, this fucking monkey, I can do this way better than him. I'm just going to go do it myself.
Yep.
Well, if you have this TX9000N, whatever,
close enough.
Was it TLN 9000, I think, right?
Keep going.
Whatever. Okay.
You got
semantics.
Just call it TL. That's a TL.
It's a TL. It's the DL for the down low. Anyways, but you could literally replace stupid and put another hot body in there and just be like, step A, step B, step C, step D. Don't miss one, and you'll succeed. I mean, that would make the most sense on planet Earth. But why don't we never do that? That makes no. What the?
Well,
fuck,
see,
man?
that's what we're talking about. So you said if I could change one thing, in my mind, that's actually how my mind operates. One of these days, I want to pull up. I'm going to try to find some of the books we used to use. I don't know if I can share it on video because it might be copyrighted. Verizon might come after me, but it's basically a Visio diagram. Remember Visio, part of the Microsoft suite where you would have like triangles and different boxes and circles, and they all meant different things. So this was pages and pages and pages and pages of that stuff. And that's how my brain operates when I think about a service. But because I'm constantly working in the business, not on the business, I haven't sat down to create that process. And I find myself that I'm in the predicament that you just talked about. It's like, okay, I want to hire 23 people. How am I going to train 23 people to do what I do?
You have to have a system involved. But I think that could be, like we were talking about earlier, that could be a phenomenal ebook that you could put together. It's a course, and then help us real estate agents get more systematized. I can't believe we're talking about systems so much. Matt would be so proud of us. So his little coal heart would just grow just a little bit.
Well, see, you got to think about, listen, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Matt's successful because of his process. I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite of that. I am 1,000% as successful as I am because of my ability to divert off the path and be extremely dynamic. Where that gets me into trouble is a week later, I forget what I told you I would do. Right? You see the difference, though? I mean, people love it, and it's great, but you got to constantly remind me because it's not part of my service. So I'll do it. I can't tell you how many times I get in trouble. So let me explain to you when I get in trouble for this. And I think it's it's so funny how it plays out. Somebody comes to me and says, okay, I'm paying you for all these services. I see what they are. but I want you to do Y.
Mm-hmm.
It's not part of it, anything. And I'm always like, sure, I'll do that for you. And then life takes over, and 6 weeks go by, and they're like, you never did this. I'm canceling the service. And I'm like, wait, you didn't buy the service for that. I was doing it as a favor, and you know what? Never mind. Like, I always get myself in trouble by offering additional things that aren't part of what Matt would dictate as the process. Like, I feel like if Matt was behind me, he'd go, no. That's not part of what you bought. It's not part of the service. Gene is not going to do that for you.
Exactly what he'd do, actually. That's exactly
he
what
would,
he would do.
which in my world would be extremely helpful because I get myself in trouble a lot. Like, you told me you were going to build me a brand new website for free. I don't feel like my $99 a month is worth it. I'm like, what?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. But because I set the expectation up front that something additional would happen and I didn't come through with it, I get in trouble.
Yeah, but that's what we all do as real estate agents. We always promise the moon to our clients. Fuck, I've done it, man. You know, you're sitting there like, oh, this person's gonna need this. Oh, we'll totally do this for you. And they're like, well, why didn't you do that? And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot. Gosh, dang it. You know, and that gets it gets all of us into problems. And I'm going to introduce you to my coach. Actually, I think you could use some of his group coaching. Just to tell you, because I'll tell you off air some of the stuff. But
okay.
So let's segue into a little bit about this crazy idea. So we talked about, all of you guys are just joining. We talked about my seller seminar that I threw and got 18 bodies in there and got about 5 warm leads. But let's talk about, yes, Gail, send 3 send-out cards every day. And Gail, you'll be so proud of me. I met an attorney last night, and he gave me his card, really thick card, extra thick. I'm going to send him a send-out card. Nice to meet you. Gene, tell me a little bit about your harebrained idea, and then we'll spin it for real estate.
Okay. We're talking about the cybersecurity one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got to be real careful here, right?
Because, well, yeah, cybersecurity.
Well, no, here's what I mean by that. Some of the stuff that got me to the point where I realized that this was a necessity. If I put it out there on the air, people would think I was a complete psychomaniac, right? And I turned you onto a couple of the things, right?
Oh, well, now I'm a psychomaniac and I look at things through a totally different lens. So I totally get it.
And right, but so you can understand what I'm saying is, like, a lot of people don't know some of the stuff is going on in the world, and I'm being very enigmatic right now, right? So, like, I basically what we're getting to is I have 2 kids. They're spending a lot of time on social media. They're spending, and as a father, in certain cases, I'm certainly failing. It's just hard. I mean, if you're a parent out there, you know it's very difficult to maintain and track. And my kids work hard, man. So when she wants to play a little Fortnite with her friends, I let it go. Then I'm off work, and the next thing I know, it's 4 hours later, and she's still playing Fortnite with her friends. You know, I'm not doing what I need to be doing from a perspective of when we handed the phones out to these 2 kids, there was a contract that was signed, and part of that contract stated after 8 p.m. phones go off, and they stay down with us at night. They don't go in their rooms. Well, I have been fairly awful at keeping that the way that it should be.
Right.
And, you know, now it's like, well, I charge my phone in my room. Can I keep it there? Okay. It's just easier, right? And I know as a father, I'm failing in that regard, and we're working on. Well, I'm taking steps, right? I'm taking measured steps to fix that a little bit. But the path I'm going down here is that as I start to do my job, which is in social media and marketing, I learn new things. As I start to watch what they're doing and ask questions, I'm learning new things. Mm-hmm. And so I realized that as educated and as much of an quote-unquote expert as I am in the digital arena, even I can't keep up with the pace of these young kids. So they're always 1 and 2 steps ahead of us when it comes to technology. So it's very difficult to – I'll give you a correlation. When we were young, I'm the oldest of 6. My sister Teresa was nuts. So Teresa, when we were younger, Teresa was the one in the middle that loved to push the envelope. So my next sister, the second in line, was Lorraine. She was very conservative. Teresa was like, let me see what I'm going to do. I see my next door neighbor smoking cigarettes. I'm going to go ahead and try it. And meanwhile, she's like 7 years old. Like, she was that one, right? And one of the things that she used to do is my father was very strict about how they looked when they went out of the house. And she got smart enough where we lived in a tiny row home, 8 of us in an 1,100 square foot house, 1 bathroom.
Oh,
yeah, think about that. Right? I grew up in the city. So when she would go out at night, her and my sister Stephanie were very tight. The third and fourth sisters were very tight, and they would go with the same crowds. Teresa would throw the clothes that she wanted to wear out her bedroom window. They would land on our lawn out front. She would come down in a attire that my father approved of. He would let them out. She'd pick up her clothes. They'd go to the friend's house, and she'd change into the more provocative wear. I have some great stories about my sisters. But that is like, Teresa is my worst nightmare from a parental perspective, except there's things that are so much more harmful now. Like, that wasn't as harmful as somebody doing something on Instagram that I'm not aware of, right? So I went down a long path here, but part of what I'm trying to say to you is it's a dangerous world for these kids, and there's a lot of stuff going on outside, and this is the stuff where I say I got to be real careful how far I jump into it, because I think people think I'm nuts, but there's stuff going on. There's sex trafficking going on. There's all this stuff that's happening around the world that I don't – listen, I can't even say it. What are the odds that one of our kids is going to get stuck in that? I don't know. It's probably not great, right? But you have to be aware of these things are happening. There's bullying going on all the time. Here's one thing I was talking about. I heard this on a TED Talk, and I thought this was mind-numbing. The guy said, when we were kids, what did bullying look like? Bullying looked like you go into school, you would go out for lunch, and for an hour somebody would pick on you and push you and take your money and act like a real asshole in the schoolyard. You would then go back into the school where there were teachers and adults and then go home and hopefully not see the kid the rest of the day. So you dreaded that lunch hour, but for the rest of the day you were probably okay, right? Does that sound about legit for when we went to school?
Yeah, and then if it really got bad, you'd meet out at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock out in the parking lot, and fists go up and knock each other around, and then they get squashed.
Well, it's funny, right? Because it's funny you say that, because we did that too, and I always think, and I think the women would agree, girls are way worse at that age than the boys. Like, the boys were like, you and I would punch each other in the face as hard as we could for 14 and a half seconds, and then be like, all right, you coming over Friday? Like, we're riding bikes on Saturday. Right? Where girls, they torture each other mentally for 4 years at a time. So I forget where I was going with that.
Cybersecurity.
Oh, bullying. So the guy on the TED Talk said, back in our days, that's what bullying looked like. He said these days, bullying's 24/7. They have these phones that people are saying nasty stuff to them. Their friends, are quote unquote friends, are saying nasty things to them. People are excluding them from groups. They're blocking them on Instagram. They're making comments in their feeds. They're sending them private text messages. Like, it never stops. And when you're 12, you might not have the emotional intelligence to handle that. So these kids are getting bullied from 8 in the morning until 10 at night until they fall asleep.
Yeah, boy, just turn the damn phone off. I mean, dude.
But even listen, it's not that easy for me and you, because I've gotten to a point where I don't give a shit what people think about me.
Fuck, yeah.
I wasn't like that when I was 14. You know what I mean? So, like, now I got to dig in. What's he saying to you about me? Like, there's just so many ways you can make a kid feel like shit. Their friends are really good at doing it. And what the guy said that made me really open my eyes was, he said, as parents, this technology is evolving so fast. As parents, we have no idea how to handle a situation like that. Imagine what your 11-year-old's going through.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, shit, dude. Like, and they won't tell you. Like, it's not like she's going to come down and go, this girl's being mean to me. She called me fat. They internalize it. And what's that end up doing? That ends up leading to these friggin' things I'm watching now. And if I ever saw this guy in person, I can't even tell you on this podcast what I would do to him. But there's these videos floating around where now people are inserting other videos. So there's Peppa Pig and these things on YouTube that are coming out, and they're sliding how to suicide videos in.
What?
So your kid's watching YouTube Kids, right? It's real deal stuff, dude. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So they're sliding these. The one guy comes out and he says, remember, you don't slice your wrist up and down. That's for attention. Long ways gets the job done. Right?
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'll send you the links. And so now I'm saying to myself, okay,
God.
These kids have the phone. They're watching these cartoons on their phone that are for kids. What's the big deal? Right? And what's happened is these things are coming out and telling them to do different things, like download WhatsApp, and then they have one-on-one conversations with these kids on WhatsApp. So here's what's happening. All this stuff is exploding so fast that I've decided I'm going to create some kind of training program for parents at schools, and I want to go around to schools and say, look, here's a way to keep your eye on your kids. This is what we're finding. Did you know that there's actually a government, and I want to say it's the FBI. I don't know if it's the FBI or CIA, but there's a government list of apps that you should be well aware of for your kids.
Like
the FBI
predators.
Yeah, all this stuff, all kinds of stuff. Like here's an example. I don't even know if you know this. I'm going to blow everybody's chain out of the water. There is an app on your phone and multiples where it looks like a calculator. Okay?
Oh yeah.
You've seen this?
I've seen the flash. I know the flashlight one, but what's the calculator one?
What's the flashlight one?
You download a flashlight app and it gives you instant surveillance on everything on your phone.
Oh, okay. No, so this one is a vault. So it's basically it hides your pictures.
Oh,
so it opens as a calculator, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you type in a specific sequence. Remember when we were kids, Dolly Parton had 69-inch boobs. They were too big. She wanted to be 51. You remember that? And it would say boobless. You don't remember that on a calculator? Come on. So we used to have this thing on a calculator. Do you have a calculator?
Yeah.
Pull it out.
Oh my God, this is going. Okay, everybody who's listening to this, do the exact same thing. Pull up your calculator, and then what are we typing?
I can't believe you never did this as a kid. I'm gonna screw it up.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's gonna look a little different on here because of the phone. But so yeah, we used to go. Dolly Parton had 69-inch boobs. So you gotta type in 69.
So 69.
They were too big. So three twos.
Okay.
She wanted them to be 51-inch boobs.
51.
And I forget what the 8 was, but you'd have to multiply it by 8, and they would say something like, the doctor told her to take these 8 pills and hit enter and turn your phone upside down, and it says, and now she's boobless. And if you think
right.
You didn't do it right. 6922251 times 8, and it comes up boobless. But on a calculator, because they were square, you could read it. So. But anyway, that was way off track. But these
way off track.
These calculators allow you to type in a sequence of numbers that only you know, like a password.
Right.
So your parents look at the phone, it looks like a calculator, no big deal. You hit these things, it's a place for you to be able to hide your saucy photos.
Your dick pics and booby shots.
Yeah, well, right. Or your boyfriends. I don't like,
Yeah, say that all the sex photos and videos that you're doing with your other half, and that's your naughty file, right?
Yes. Yeah, so this
I gotta look into this. This sounds very useful in my world.
Yeah, but listen, and it's also good to know as a parent that it's out there, right? So when your kids, so my thing is this: it's real simple. You pick up your kid's phone or you log into their Apple iCloud and you look at the installed apps, and the ones that look legit and like Facebook's Facebook for the most part, right? So when you see it, you go, okay, kid has Facebook. They're not supposed to be on Facebook. Why do they have Facebook? Oh, let me look into that. But what you should really be looking at is, wait a minute, what is this app? Why do they have a third calculator on here? Let me see. Look the friggin' thing up online, and it'll tell you. It's a photo sharing app. Like, these are things that you got to look out for your kids. So with the whole thing that came out with Cambridge Analytics, there's a way that you should be setting your kids up for success online, also so that you can keep a better eye on them, establish a conversation and trust with them. And so what I want to do is I want to go out and create this program and go speak to a bunch of schools and have a night where parents come in and say, look, this is what you need to be aware of. Here's how you can keep a better eye on your kids because this is the shit that's going on while you're busy at work, and open the dialogue.
The latch door kids, when we were growing up, you have your key, mom and dad are at work, then you come home, you play hanky-panky with your boyfriend or girlfriend or play some grab ass, they leave, and mom and dad come home, you're doing homework like a little cherub.
Right.
This is just a digital version of, hanky-panky, without having to do anything. And I think that I love the thing about this is that for all the real estate agents out there, it's going to do two things. It's going to do one, it's going to get you more tech savvy, all you dinosaurs out there. Number two, you're going to be perceived as a godsend to other parents who may not know, well, guarantee don't know what's going on. And then guess what? They're going to get some information with about these lists of these apps and everything else with your brand on the upper and the lower of everything when you talk to people. And you can be a resource because you're going to always be updating your information on this as you go around to these different schools and speak to the parents on parent night, or you bring them into your real estate office and you have a digital awareness night for an hour talking about shit, scaring the living piss out of them, but endearing you to them for life. Who else is doing that? Man, I love that marketing idea because it's so different, but it's so valuable.
Listen, if they do it at a brokerage or they pull people together, you could figure out a way to fly me to your area and make me scare the shit out of people. I'll do it for you.
He's a scary guy.
Well, listen, when you possess this kind of knowledge, my friend.
Well, the stuff that you and I have gone down the rabbit hole on is petrifying. I mean,
it is
petrifying. And just down. I mean, I've sat and watched and listened to stuff, and my jaw hits the ground, and I feel like I want to vomit.
Well, listen, let's go back to what you were talking about a minute ago, because you brought up a good point, but I want to relay it and make people understand why this is such a big deal. So you were talking about latchkey kids, right?
Uh-huh.
And you were like, mom's not at home from 3 to 6. Maybe dad is off or not home because he travels 3 days of the week, or maybe dad's not around at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's situations where that happens. And so here's what happens. All right, I'll give you an example. So Instagram, right?
I've heard of this.
This Finsta. You know Finsta?
I've heard of it. I really don't know. Finsta is like a fake Insta, right?
Yeah. So kids are creating fake Instagram accounts. So here's the thought process. When mom wants to see, mom approved your Instagram account. They know you have it. Mm-hmm. So when they want to see what you're doing, what do? They go look at your Instagram account. So what you've done is create a second account, which is a Finsta account.
Yeah.
Where parents don't know about it.
Right.
And so this is where you're posting all your sultry stuff, right? And
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
I just learned about that because I have now 2 accounts. One is for my own personal Instagram, right? Then I have one for my radio show, Real Estate Radio Talk, and I didn't know I can go up to the top, click on my name, and it will be all down arrow if you have 2 accounts or more. Click it, and then you can find which account you want to submit to. And I didn't know I could do it. I'm 40 years old. I thought I was pretty tech savvy, but I did not know that. So a lot of parents have probably no clue.
No clue. And here's from the latchkey kid perspective. Here's what happens. So now you have a second Instagram account that your parents don't know about, and maybe you're just just pushing the envelope a little bit and saying certain things. Well, here's another thing that you have to be aware of. These kids, when they take pictures, you know what metadata is?
Yeah, it tags your lat and long and where you are in the photos.
Okay, so now your daughter has a fake Instagram account that she's posting her business about. Like, for example, I'm home alone on Tuesdays because my mom works and then my dad's not around, right? And now I can triangulate their coordinates because most of their pictures they're taking at their dance class, at their house, and at their school. So as a creep or somebody who's looking for this stuff, I know where they are. And I also know that they have emotional issues because dad's not around, and they're showing me pictures of stuff that they shouldn't be doing that their parents are unaware of. And so what's the next thing that happens?
We start inappropriate conversations can start, and then people go down the path. And I think the whole thing about this, and if you guys want more information about what we're talking about, reach out to Gene. And if you really want to go down this rabbit hole, it's a hole you'll never come out of. I mean, you will never come out of this hole. You take the red pill, and the new reality opens up. It's fucking petrifying. But with that being said, being like what was it, G.I. Joe?
Yep.
Say like knowledge is half the battle. Yep. And a lot of us just don't have the knowledge about this stuff. You will throw open your mouth. You will freak out. You'll get angry, but then you'll calm down and you'll figure out a way, like what Gene's talking about, to take this out to your communities and inform people. If you're in mom groups, if you're at soccer teams, I mean, don't go up and tell them, hey, there's a A, B, C, and D that's happening around this neighborhood. Just say, hey, look, are you guys worried about your kids' cybersecurity? Check this out. These are some things you need to be aware of. Here, I'll email you some information. And I mean, unless you're a delinquent of a human being, you're like, I don't care if my little girl gets diddled by 45-year-olds. Well, then you need to be locked up, shot in the head.
This even sounds awful.
I know, it sounds horrible. But I mean, if you're that person, we're going to shoot you in the back of the head and leave you in a dry hole somewhere, because it's horrible behavior. But every normal person is not going to think that. They're going to want to protect their family. And I think that there's nothing stronger than a family member protecting a family member and sharing that. Like, if I had, so my brother, he's down in Texas. He's my size, but he's actually shorter than me. He hates that he's shorter than me. He's like 6'4", like and a half, and I'm like, well, I'm 6'5", bitch. But he used to be a weightlifter, and I'm not talking like he used to lift 5-pound weights. We're talking like 500-pound bench, 600-pound bench, like wow. A beast of a human, like turned sideways to go through doors kind of a guy. No joke. He was like ridiculous. But he has one boy, 2 girls. And so, I mean, he is aggro about protection of those kids. And and I haven't even told him about the stuff that I know about yet, because I don't want to scare him and make him mad. But he would definitely be an advocate. He would want his real estate professional in Austin, Texas, to be like, hey, bro, I know you're having another daughter. I really should share this with you so that you have your eyes wide open and not sit there with your head in the sand and just thinking everything's lolly, everything's perfect and rosy. No. So I guess the long and short of that is like, when you guys are out thinking about marketing, you can take on a seller seminar like I did. You can take on a protective role like Gene is going to be doing. Now, is he going out there, trying to get business and get money from it? Maybe. Are you? Or are you just doing it for good service and creating goodwill and then generating information about your marketing company?
So the truth is going to be, it's started out as a charity thing, right? But the more I struggle with it, here's what I realized. I know that because this happens in my real estate business. When I teach people how to market and social media, 5% of the room comes to me and says, this is great. I need to do it, but I can't do it myself. How do I pay you? And that's what's going to happen when I show these folks how to. I know for a fact that when I show folks how to protect themselves and their children against this stuff, the 10% probably 40% of the room is going to come to me and say, I need you to come to my house to set this up, or I need you to come in and train me how to do it, or I need to. So I can't do that for free, unfortunately. So
No.
I have
Absolutely
a feeling
not.
there's a money-making opportunity attached to it, but that's not the idea behind the why.
Right, but you're going at it with a mindset of service and protecting the innocents.
Oh yeah.
Right? You're not going, there's an opportunity to take advantage of the parents whose kids are being shitheads. Okay,
Yes.
Perfect. And I love that. And with that money, this will roll. I think this is a very good opportunity for you because, one, we need to know about this stuff. The general public needs to know about it. So if there's something that comes to mind for you guys, you're like, dude, people need to know about blah, right?
Yep.
Well, go let people know about blah. Because it's not only going to help you, it's going to help the people that you interact with. And there's nothing better than being able to give to somebody without asking for anything in return. But what you've given is so powerful that they're compelled with the law of reciprocity to give back to you. And at the minimum, you will be top of mind. If they go on and they find little Susie has the calculator app that stores naughty photos, well, first she's going to get her ass grounded and all privileges taken away probably, and probably a lot more. But then they're going to, next time Gene goes, hey, man, how are you doing? Like, oh, my God, you wouldn't believe what I found on my daughter's phone. Thank you so much. Guess who's the legend in their mind?
Well, and so let me be really clear, because I think this is an important element. And this, you can translate this to your business, too. Like, I've had conversations with my wife, and I've had conversations with a guy that I'm talking about that we're going to create this together, okay? Mm-hmm. And the question becomes, like, first of all, when do you lose trust? When do you lose the trust in your kids? At what point do you tell them you're monitoring them? Like, there's so many different morality issues, right?
Never.
There are so many things that you're going to look at. The ultimate goal here is to open the lines of communication with your children. So because a lot of times they might be doing, like, I learned about this Finsta account because my daughter, literally 3 days after when she turned 13, we let her open her Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And 3 days later, she had a Finsta account that she told my wife about because she really didn't comprehend what it was about. And we said, why do you have that? And she's like, well, everybody has it. So I just thought that's what I did. And I'm like, all right. And, of course, my wife, she's Sicilian. She said something like the following: get that off your phone or I'm taking the phone from you. There were some F-bombs in there. I'm not, you know what I mean? But to me, there's so many tools we can use that you can start to create a baseline for how your kid is acting in the digital space. That should give you a little bit of an idea of what type of kid you have. And then at that point, it's time to actually sit down and open up the books to, why do I see suicide come up in your feed? Why are you Googling bullying? Why are we talking about these three things? Hey, I saw a picture that I didn't like. I didn't like the way you responded to X. Or, hopefully, I just think you're a great kid. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's that side of it too. Yeah. But I think this to me allows us to empower the children with a conversation and somebody to talk to.
And then that again will, at 13 to 15 years old, I mean, that is a rough time in any kid's life, boy or girl, right?
Yeah.
And if you can start showing them that, hey, I trust you, I respect you, but I am going to rule with an iron fist because you're my child, and because it's not because I want to be a dick. it's because I actually love you, and there's incredibly horrible people in the world who would do unspeakable things to you in a nanosecond. So yes, I'm going to be a dick, but you will love me again when you're 20 or 21 or 35 or could be 40. But at some point, you'll come back around.
Maybe never. We'll see.
Maybe never. We just don't know how much of the surveillance is going to take place on them. But I mean, I don't have kids, but I'll tell you one thing. If I did have kids, I would literally rule with an iron fist. I wouldn't want them to be afraid of me, but I sure shit, they're going to know, like, anything you do digitally, I'm going to be tapping into at any given time. I find out you have anything that's not appropriate, I take away everything instantaneously.
So it's really interesting you say that, because I would almost spin that a little bit. I just want them to know that I know everything. That's it. Like, I want my kids to know that I see. For their first 5 years of their lives, they've actually thought I had eyes in the back of my head. They did, and it's powerful. Like, it is. Until they were like, Dad, you're an idiot, you know. But I used to trick them into things, and they would think that I could see them from the back of my head. That's what I always wanted. I was always scared of my father being over my shoulder when I was doing something I wasn't supposed to. I'm telling you, for me, I remember that we used to have a crick, which most people outside of Philly called a creek. A creek. We called it a crick. So it was a crick that we were in, and we would get like these little things we would do, and I was forbidden to be in the crick. And the one day, dude, I'll never forget it. My father had this whistle, like one of those things.
My dad has the same thing.
Right? And I remember looking up, and there he was standing with his hands in his pocket. And I must have been 8. Yeah, I was like, guys, I got to go.
Oh, dude. Okay,
I knew I was dead.
So that was yours, and we're going to wrap this up here in a minute. But, dude, my mom had the most uncanny ability. It was freakish. My brother and I would be watching a movie or something. We knew there was going to be some sort of sex or something. He and I were pumped, like, yeah, sex scene. Or like a make-out scene or something like that, right? Every time it came on, she would, like, walk in the room at that exact second and be like, what are you guys watching? We're like, it's the only scene in the whole movie. But it's true. It was insane how she could do that. Like, your dad was
Parents aren't as dumb as we think.
No, parents are not as dumb as we think as kids. But, I mean, I think it's time for us as adults, and those of you with small, crib midgets and small humans, because they understand the power of technology, but they don't understand the negativity of it, how it can adversely affect them. In the regards to people doing nasty, horrible things to them. But I think you're responding to them, answering the question of what the TED Talk was. And Antonio reads here, I have 3 kids, man. I'm listening closely and dealing with some of the stuff that you're talking about. Well, good, man. We're definitely going off the rails here, but I think it's something that's really important for people to hear. Really important for people to hear. So, all right. Do you have any more final thoughts? Because we are at bingo on this thing.
No, dude. I know that took a little bit of a crazy turn. I hope it was worth folks listening to it. I mean, I think a lot of people will be like, whatever. And if you don't have kids, it's probably not that important. But if you have nieces and nephews, it's something to keep your eye on.
Dude, the stuff that you've turned me on to, the different podcasts, and then those lead into different podcasts, and those lead into different Facebook things. Once you start, you peel the shells back from your eyes and you start looking into. Because I thought a lot of the stuff that you turned me on to, I'm like, this guy's fucking crazy. What?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that out there for sure.
This doesn't happen. And then, I started reading, researching, looking into. If you really want to get into it, I opened up. I talked to the Zillow killer about this content. He thought I was crazy. He went to a whole other level. He got so mad about the content I shared with him, he went and donated money to the Underground Railroad, where they actually
Did he really?
Yeah, he went and donated money. James, yeah. And, about how keeping, the child abductions. And these guys at the Underground Railroad are all ex-FBI, military, stuff like that. And they go rescue kids in sex trafficking rings all around the country and around the world.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's donating money. I think he's going to donate time and stuff. Tony Robbins is a big part of that. And it's a thing that when they realize that it's a real thing, and they realize it's happening in their city, in their community, in their county, in their state, and they have kids that could be vulnerable, they're like, yeah, I am not going to let that go. And parents just don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's one of these things. No, people like to not, for especially something like this. People don't want to have to address it until it affects them. And in this particular case, if it's abduction or suicide and it affects you, it's too fucking late. You better get in front of you.
I can't believe they serve up how to kill yourself, suicide stuff in kids' videos.
Dude, well,
who does that?
It's people getting tricky with editing. They're probably, I can't even figure out what it is, man. When we kill this, I'll send you the video.
No pun intended.
What?
No pun intended.
No, that was terrible. No pun intended. Once we cut the cord on this one, on the show.
How about just stop the podcast?
Yeah, that was terrible. Sorry.
Once we murder this, yeah, we really killed this show, man. We just murdered it. We slayed it. Okay, we're gonna stop with the bad jokes. But you guys go back if you're just watching as Terry and you showed up late, Terry. With your kids, Terry, go back and watch this shit with your background, dude, and the people you know, dude, you're gonna go batshit crazy, absolutely batshit. All right, Gene, who are you? Where can they find you? What do you do for a living?
GeneVolpe.com. Actually, can I throw a plug out for our podcast?
Dude, anything ever? Yeah, absolutely.
Check out. So I'm doing a podcast locally with an author around here, Lorraine Rinaldi. She wrote a couple books. One is on the impact of public speaking. The other one is Gravy Wars, which is, it's a pretty funny, cool story. She comes from South Philly. It has to do with Italians and making gravy. It's pretty funny. But we do a show called The Marketing RV, and it's on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify. Check it out. Give us a like if you like it, and a review. It'll help us out. Subscribe to the show, and you get to hear me in a different context. Yeah, so.
Marketing RV podcast. And they can get it on iTunes, Stitcher. Yep. Can they get it on YouTube?
Not yet. We're not doing live video yet, but that's coming, actually.
Okay. You guys heard it right there.
No, I'm lying to you. You can get it on YouTube because I'm actually uploading it's just the audio. But yeah, you can get it on YouTube, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. For me, if you guys want to talk about EXP, if I can mathematically prove to you on a sheet of paper that I can help you and your family earn more money doing the exact same thing you're doing, go ahead and go to bookmcdaniel.com. It's on the bottom of the screen if you're watching, and if you're audio, go to bookmcdaniel.com. Dude, just seriously, go out and book 30 minutes with me. If it's not worth your 30 minutes, Gene will pay you $50. And if it is worth 30 minutes, then you'll join my EXP team. or Matt will come over and clean your car.
That's great.
Poor guy. For all you ladies, he'll do it shirtless. For all you guys, he'll be fully clothed. Don't worry. I hope you listened to the end of that part. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I know we went deep. I know we went totally different on this podcast. We won't do that kind of deep show again, but it was something that was both close to me and Gene. And hopefully you guys can take it and use it in a positive, beneficial part for you. So we love you. We could not do this show without you. Share our show, share our info if this could help or save anyone either in the business or in this show a life. And we'll just kind of keep making this world a better place, guys. All right, guys. Gene, you need to pick a bow color because Matt's not here. You got to step into that role, homie.
That's no problem. Let me look around me. Let's go with toothpaste green.
Toothpaste green bow. I think that's a very appetizing color. All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. We love you to pieces. Until next time. Peace out, ninjas. We're gone.